Well, hi there. A little while ago, we did a video about what is possibly the most unusual looking of all snakes, at least that I've ever seen, and that is the dragon snake. And if you've seen that video, you would know that, at least at this point in time, they tend to do terribly in captivity. I do know some people, like Scarlet Nightshade, who seem to be having some success with them. So it could come in the future that it will be possible to get a healthy, captive bred, feeding dragon snake. However, right now, well, just watch the video. The dragon snake is special for a number of reasons, but not the least of those being how absolutely unusual it is. In fact, I would say it looks like no other snake on the planet if it weren't for these. This is a file snake, and file snakes are also very unique looking and very similar looking in many ways to the exceptional dragon snake. The big question is just, well, are they actually more suited to being kept as pets at this point in time than are their Asian doppelgangers? And to answer that question, I have come to South Africa to meet with Rolf from Ultimate Exotics and his file snakes, because right here they are having great success keeping these amazing snakes. And I know of no one better anywhere on earth to help us figure out if the file snake is a good pet and if it's the best pet snake for you. And in order to help us figure this out, we're going to have to give the file snake a score based on our 5 categories, which are handleability, care, hardiness, availability, and upfront costs. When it comes to handleability, we give the file snake a score of 4 out of 5, which is actually pretty dang good, especially considering this one just bit Rolf a minute ago. It was, I will mention, a totally harmless looking bite, which is nice.
Just a test.
These guys are, in the wild, often snake eaters, and like our king snakes, they may at times confuse you for prey. However, overall, they seem way less inclined to do this. That was an extreme oddity that the snake bit. In fact, I think that makes, 3 times that anyone here has been bitten by one, as far as I know, and 2 of them just happened with this snake today.
Yes, correct.
So before this, only one person had ever been bitten by a file snake, and these guys have been working with file snakes for a while. In fact, I think this is one of your favorite projects, is it not?
It is, absolutely, yeah. We've been working with them for over 15 years now, and we just absolutely love them. And it's been, quite a challenge to grow them up from captive bred babies and then produce them again and then through a couple more generations. They take quite a long time to mature. So some of the females, they breed only for the first time in their 4th year, which is quite a long time for a lot of snakes.
And what is it that draws you to them?
There's something about the Cape file snake that since as a young boy, I've always just been drawn to them with that beautiful triangular body, the keeled scales, and that white stripe down the whole body.
I'm totally sold on them.
Yeah,
I have to have one of these.
And they have that real prehistoric looking head. They're just such a unique species of snake. And I've just always found them so attractive and enjoyable to work with.
I actually want to spend a moment talking about this look, because this look is incredible. Both of these, there's a slight difference to their patterning. These are actually different species of file snakes, and we'll talk about the differences between them here in a bit. But they've got heavily keeled scales and a very kind of triangular cross-sectional build with a pretty sharp peak to the back, really reminiscent of the dragon snakes. They don't have the exact same scalation. That dragon snake scalation is special, but this is, I would say, the next best thing.
Yeah.
The color is kind of a purplish hue to a gray, sort of like what you would find on a mystic potion, sort of a ball python. And the head is not the only thing, but one of the things that very much reminds me of a dragon snake. It also reminds me of a sunbeam snake.
Yeah.
And I would say of the 3, though, this is probably potentially the most reasonable pet. You'll notice right now that this snake is hiding its head. And they're very, very inclined to do that when they get nervous, sort of like a ball python, but I would say to the extreme. And almost like the stereotype, not an accurate stereotype, but the stereotype for ostriches. They get scared. They want to hide their heads. They don't seem to care at all about what is going on with the rest of the body as long as that head is hidden. And they'll even have their eyes poking out. So it's not even that he can't see.
He just has that head tucked away. Yeah.
They just want to tuck that head away. I'm sure, like this one, once they get a little bit more socialized, they're not going to tuck the head all of the time in the way that this one will. This one is, again, principally a breeder, and so it's not handled regularly, and as such, it's still a little bit nervous. So handling is obviously only going to get better than this. In general, obviously there are moments of exception, but in general, they're very, very uninclined to bite, especially defensively. These bites were more of a confusion about whether or not it was getting food right now, and so that's probably not something you're generally going to have to worry about. And it did make it quite clear for a while that it was going to bite. And then it did, and then the bite didn't even break the skin.
Correct.
They can be, when not socialized, very jumpy and kind of whip around in a way that is pretty wild for a snake. You don't see too many snakes acting quite that erratically. These guys, it's almost like a panic, but not for long. But again, a very, very interesting snake to hold. Very, very distinct and different in shape. This hard edge to the belly scoots is fascinating. These deep keels, the spaces between the scales that are soft, this ridge to the top. You're just not going to hold any other snakes that feel like this. And so they're very, very special. It is actually a really good experience handling one of these, even one that's not heavily socialized, and it's only going to get better from there. When it comes to care, and I want to be clear here, I'm talking about captive bred file snakes. We give the file snake a score of 4 out of 5. And because Rolf is probably one of the world's leading experts on the care of these snakes, I mean, we've come halfway around the world to talk to him after all, I want to turn the time over to him to explain to us a little bit what it is like caring for these snakes.
Okay, so with the file snakes, one of the most important things is temperature, I find. They don't like it too hot. So with regards to a hot spot, you're going to be using like a heating pad. So you don't want to heat from above because they are nocturnal, so you don't want any lighting or heating from above. So you're going to use a heat pad, and you're going to achieve a hot spot of about 28 degrees Celsius. And then the rest of the enclosure can be cooler than that at room temperature, but that's the most important thing. You don't want it to be too hot.
So too hot is more dangerous than too cool, correct?
Correct, but also too cool as well. You don't want to go below 15 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
Yeah. So anywhere between that range, you then safe. Then it's good to go. And then with regards to enclosures, they don't need a very large enclosure. Pretty much the same type of enclosure that you would use for your corn snake. But the important thing is that the substrate can be quite moist. So you're going to be using a cocoa husk or reptile bark substrate. Or a mix of those two.
Okay.
So they have a slightly damp substrate.
Something that holds
wet.
substrate.
Yeah, holds a bit of humidity, a bit of moisture. And they really do like going in and out of their water bowl. And they can dampen the substrate quite a bit. So you just need to make sure you either have a PVC, a plastic, or a glass enclosure that can deal with those moisture levels.
How are these guys as far as like being escape artists?
I think like most snakes, they're good escape artists.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
That head is very flat. It reminds me of that of
Yes.
sunbeam snakes. In my experience, sunbeam snakes are incredible escape artists.
Yes, yeah. No, these guys are good at getting out of anything. So
something like a PVC
No
enclosure,
gaps.
something with a fixed lid,
correct
would be a very good idea.
Yes.
I know there are a few species out there. This is a Cape file snake. That's a West African file snake. Both of those are potentially available. Would there be any significant differences or anything that you should know based on which species you have?
In my personal experience, we keep both the same way. So no differences to the way we keep them. I have worked with the Cape files longer than the West African files. But since we have acquired these and started working with them and have bred them, we've kept them the same way on purpose because that's the way we were told to keep them. And it's proven successful for us.
Now, I know one of the biggest issues with these guys can be feeding. Can you talk to me about what it is like, what they do like to eat, what you can get them to eat, and getting them feeding in the first place?
Yeah, so file snakes in the wild, they primarily feed on snakes and then also amphibians, geckos and lizards, and then also small rodents. In captivity over the years of captive breeding them, we've got all ours just feeding primarily on rodents. So they start on pinky mice.
Right from the get-go.
Yeah, yes, right from the get-go, but it does take some time. The babies can be challenging, and some of them take quite a long time before they start eating on a regular basis. So the babies are difficult when it comes to getting them to feed, but once they start eating, then they're really good feeders and they've got an excellent appetite. We then move them on to, as they get older, we move them on to rats as soon as we can. They seem to really enjoy the rats. And I find with the adults, although they're a large snake like the one that you're holding there,
Yes.
they don't like very large meals. So
Okay.
I'd rather feed them 2 smaller meals in a week
Yes.
than 1 large meal.
And that's an important thing, I think, for especially non-boas and pythons in general. Is smaller meals are definitely much safer than a too large meal.
Yeah, and they do have a fast metabolism, so they are designed to eat quite a lot.
Okay.
That's why we try to do 2 meals in a week rather than 1.
You mentioned that they do like to get into the water bowl.
Yes.
Is it good to have a water bowl that's large enough for them to get their entire body into it?
Absolutely. They do enjoy going into their water bowls. Often when I come to their enclosures and I look inside, they will be lying in the water bowl. So they do enjoy submerging their body in there. I think at night as well, when they're roaming the cage, they're going in and out of the water bowl. So a sturdy water bowl is important. And I think also to make sure that the water is fresh in the enclosure, because I think they drink a lot of water as well. So the fresh water, I think, also stimulates them to drink. They can smell that there's new fresh water in the enclosure and in their bowl, and I think they're attracted to that and they go for it.
Well, this is a very special snake, and I really appreciate those tips because I've known for a lot of people that they can be hard. But obviously, if you get one that's feeding well,
Yeah,
and
it's
you
not
can
not so
maintain
difficult.
the basic needs of it, especially access to water and humidity,
Yeah.
you're probably good. When it comes to hardiness, we give the file snake a score of, surprisingly I think, 4 out of 5. But when I say 4 out of 5, I'm referring primarily to captive bred specimens like these.
Correct.
I'd like to turn the time back over to you just to kind of talk about how hardy they are and what are some of the things you need to watch out for.
Yeah, so like Clint was saying, a captive bred file snake is generally a hardy species to work with. As long as you just meet a few basic criteria, don't let it get too warm, don't let it get too dry. And then besides that, I'd say it's the trickiness of the feeding that can be challenging. But otherwise, they don't really have too many other captive problems that we've encountered. So as long as those basic needs are met, they are actually quite a hardy snake.
What are some of the big differences between a captive bred and a wild caught file snake as far as hardiness goes?
So I would say a wild caught file snake, in my personal opinion, would be stress, would be a big problem. I think they're very sensitive snakes, so any wild caught file snake I don't think is going to cope well to a captive environment. You're then going to also have problems with internal parasites and other parasites. And then also their diet in the wild is going to be quite a lot different to what we're going to be feeding them in captivity. So I think those are your major problems. And again, I always, try and stay away from anything wild caught and just work with the captive bred stuff. For generations, they've been adjusted to a captive environment and a diet which is better suited for captivity.
When it comes to availability, we give the file snake a score of 2 out of 5. I've got to say, in the United States at least, I've never seen these available at a pet shop or an expo. I do see them with some regularity online, and so you can order them in, though most of those are wild caught. And so you're going to have various wild caught problems, health, stress, difficulty getting them to eat, especially the foods that you'd want to feed them. And then, of course, you've got environmental impact because you're directly impacting the wild population by taking them out of the wild. Captive bred is really the way that you're going to want to go. There aren't very many breeders, but there are breeders. Obviously, Ultimate Exotics is one of those breeders.
Yeah.
An excellent breeder. If you're in South Africa, they're going to be the perfect source for you. If you're outside of South Africa, it might be harder, but not impossible to get a snake from them. That said, they can probably at least help point you in the right direction of a good breeder if there is one near you. And so it wouldn't hurt to reach out to them as long as you're cool with people reaching out to you.
No problem at all. You're welcome to.
Where can they reach out to you?
So yeah, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram. We Ultimate Exotics Reptiles. Those would probably be the two best places. So yeah, go check out our pages. Yeah, we've got a lot of cool content on there. So yeah, you're welcome to go have a look.
They also have the most incredible reptile shop in all of Africa. It's also the worst reptile shop in all of Africa because it's the only reptile shop in all of Africa. And Dave actually made a video from there if you'd like to see it, because it is astounding. And I got to be there for that little experience. It was amazing. So you can check that out if you want to see more about Ultimate Exotics. Really incredible people, really incredible animals, worth checking out for sure. When it comes to upfront costs, we give the file snake a score of 5 out of 5. The reality is these snakes are not extremely expensive. They're not the cheapest snakes you're going to find, but they're not extraordinarily expensive by any stretch of the imagination. The enclosure that you're going to need, including substrate, proper heating, water bowls, hides. Hides are going to be very important with these guys. Any other cage furnishings. All of these things are really pretty darn reasonable. I mean, it is possible to have a snake this size that will be less expensive all said and done, like a corn snake, but the difference really will be pretty trivial. This is a very, very reasonable snake to buy and to keep, and so it gets a 5 out of 5. And best of all, you won't need to buy a jar for this one. And this is why overall we give the file snake a score of 3.8 out of 5. If what you want is, well, one of the most unique and amazing looking snakes in the entire world, something that is totally unique, totally different, not only to look at, but even to feel, to interact with, and you want it to live, then the file snake might be the perfect pet snake for you. As always, like and subscribe. Be sure to check out Ultimate Exotics, and we hope to see you real soon. This would be a great snake for helping people get over their fear of snakes because you could get them to touch it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a good one to hand to somebody afraid of snakes because it'd start writhing around. And
Yeah.
But if I was holding it, and I'd be like, you got to at least feel this. That's crazy. No other snake I know of feels like this.
Better suited for captivity.
That's excellent. So there's that spastic searching to get my head concealed.
Yeah.
Why is my head out? You got this, buddy. I'm all about the capes now. Though I love this one too. Like this one would be just great if the cape didn't exist.
Yeah.
But it does exist.